I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Ooh, yeah. Crystal Mitchell, do you have my business plan? Just review the pages of my marketing plan.
And good afternoon, and welcome to the Business Zone. It is September, what is it, the 15th?
September the 15th, yes.
And we are happy to be here. My co-host is here.
Finally back.
Yeah, he's finally back. He's been missing in action, but we welcome him back.
That's right,
so
that's right.
Tell us what you've been doing,
Oh,
Mr.
man,
Buchanan.
man. Crystal, I've been all over the place. I've been in Vegas.
Okay.
And we taught a 2-day communication workshop in Vegas for the Nevada Contractors Association. That was phenomenal. We did some personality profile.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, yeah.
What's that KP?
KYP?
KYP.
Knowing your personnel.
Yeah.
That was great. That was a hit. That was a hit.
Yeah,
They
it is
loved
a hit. It's fun.
Yeah. People were taking it home, doing it on their husband, their spouses, their employees.
Knowing who you're dealing with.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was wonderful. And then I was in Northern California also.
Okay.
Yes, so we did the California Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. We did their convention. So that was good, and I was on the Hispanic Shark Tank.
Tell us about that. What was that like?
That was amazing. That was amazing. We had about 250 people in the room, and there was 3 sharks on the stage.
Okay.
So, I pitched my product, and, I knew going in that I wasn't planning on getting into financing. I just wanted to get my stuff out there,
Okay.
I just wanted to people to know what it is that we do and how it works. So we went out there. Sharks were interested. They said they wanted a second meeting, So, that was about it. But people in the audience, they're the ones who loved it.
Oh,
the small businesses, yes.
So what was the experience for you personally, though, being in front of them?
Shark Tank?
Yeah.
It was nothing. It was like teaching a workshop.
Oh, okay.
Because
that's always our first basis of reference.
Oh, yeah. Because to me, those sharks are like, the participants in my workshop, they're trying to learn what I'm presenting.
Okay.
And they want to know how it's going to benefit them and why they want to invest in it or why they should even be interested in it. Oh. So, I show them the features and benefits of the system, how it works, how it helps small businesses, how it saves lenders and contract providers money and time. And it was phenomenal.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they had a lot of questions, which is what I wanted. Okay. Because the more questions that people have about the product or service, then the more you're educating them.
Right, exactly. And that's really what that product is about, is educating and maintaining their records.
I really loved it.
You did? So you think you'd be ready for the big Shark Tank?
I think I'll be ready, but I'm having second thoughts about it. I don't want those guys taking 40% and 51% of my business.
If they really like it, they even want it.
Yeah.
They'll actually offer to let you work for them.
Exactly.
So, it's a kind of a catch-22 kind of thing.
Exactly. So I've been talking with my good friend, our guest on the show here today, about that as well. So he's going to provide us some insight as to how we can work together and bring some funding into the organization and for the product too.
Okay.
So, we're looking at that. He's got a very impressive business credit system that we're going to talk about today. We're going to see how we're going to partner and team up with that as well.
Okay.
And that's going to be neat. So that's what I've been doing. Unfortunately, Monday, I got to go back to Sacramento.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what you do, right?
Sacramento, Sonoma. So I'm teaching 2 workshops for the Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. So, and then next week I got 2 more workshops that I'm teaching up in San Joaquin and Stockton.
Traveling man.
You're
doing you were already doing it, but my July was like that. I was all over the place.
Yeah, you're in Maryland.
I was in Maryland twice.
Yes.
And then came back, taught a class, went back to Maryland. I was exhausted. I'm exhausted, guys.
Yeah.
In fact, it was so funny. My girlfriend called me yesterday and she's like, we really need then she's like, no, you really need to go on a vacation. Girl, I ain't getting on another plane. I'm not packing another suitcase. I am good until the first of the year.
Isn't that hectic getting on those planes?
I hate getting on the plane.
That alone right there is like a...
Traveling
it sucks
used
out
to be
all your
fun,
energy.
And traveling is no longer fun.
I hate it.
It's really, and I had an interesting experience. So my girlfriend used to, you know her, Daisy.
Yeah.
She used to work for Continental. And so when she retired, she received lifetime benefits to fly. So I'm listed as her companion, which is higher than a buddy pass.
Right.
And when I go, we always say I'm going on a vacation pass, which means I'm right up there where she was. And she had been with the company for some 20 years, right? So normally, in the old days when flying was fun, then you were treated well. You might get first class.
They may even feed you.
Oh, man. I think when I went to Maryland the first time, because I was going back to the PNC conference, I left the 4th of July. Oh, and because the airlines are packing people in like cattle, they stop the number of planes that are traveling on a daily basis. Now, why you would limit the number of flights on a holiday weekend is beyond me. But they stopped so many flights, which means they were cramming everybody in on the flights, the planes that they had available. I got to the airport at 6 in the morning, and I left the day before. The meeting started the 5th. Wow. And I literally did not get there till 6 o'clock the next morning. I was in the airport the whole entire day. So you
missed the meeting?
No, the meeting started that afternoon.
Oh, my God.
I was literally in the airport.
What happened?
Because again, this is non-rev. So they were squishing in, and they had discontinued other flights. I don't know what was going on. There was no weather issues. There were nothing. But some flights got delayed or canceled, and so that means everybody was rolled over. Even their revenue paying was rolled over. And even though I could actually watch it from my computer on exactly how many seats they had because I have access to the system. Did not matter. And by the time I left LA early in the morning, didn't get on a flight until 4 o'clock in the afternoon with San Francisco. Then I came back down from San Francisco and then went over to Maryland. It was like, oh my God. So second time wasn't as bad, but it's not as much fun as it used to be.
That is unbelievable.
And that's non-rev. Even flying, because I was watching the people that did pay for it. It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
And here's what I realized too. So that's why I'm resonating with a lot of what you're saying. Here's what I realized, that whenever they book a flight, and if that flight is not, let's say they don't have about 65, 70%, then they either make that plane, they delay it on purpose, waiting for more people to come in or connections to be made so they can fill it up, so they can make their, $500,000 or whatever they need to make on that flight. Or they tell you, I'm sorry, we have engine problems. That's what they've done. They've done that with me so many times at JetBlue. So many times.
Wow.
Nothing is wrong with the plane.
Right.
Because when I get on there, I got to do my interview. And
maybe that's what was going on. Because I could see that you're online. You are connected.
Yes.
Even if you're in the airport, you are connected to everything.
Yes.
So you know if there's storms or there's shutdowns.
That's what I'm talking about.
This. But in July, everybody should have been eating July 4th, everybody should have been somewhere eating barbecue.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it was just amazing. So, I think that, and it doesn't even matter what nationality you are. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
There was a guy, when I flew back from Maryland when I took the kids to Baltimore for the tennis tournament. So this older man, he was a veteran.
Wow.
Had flown in and been in many Desert Storm, all of them. Right. This is what do you call it? Metal. He went up. He was going to a wedding in the Philippines. His partner, his friend, whom he was in the military with, they had flown missions together. He's trying to get to his best friend's wedding, and so when he went up to tell the gate, and he had something, something with his knee or his leg, so he was walking with a cane.
Right.
And so when he went up to ask for help, They're like, sir, we'll get to you when we get to you. So when he came, he was looking. I was like, what's the matter?
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, I just want to. This man he saved my life. I need to get to the Philippines.
Right.
I said, so here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You're going to get back up and you're going to go back over there to that United customer service person, and you're going to tell them about all of your experiences saving us in this country.
Exactly.
And you tell them everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back, he goes, it worked. So, man, you got to use everything you
Crystal
got.
is in charge, baby.
So at that point, they got him. They were going to connect because he was concerned the flight was 4 hours delayed.
Right.
So he was concerned about getting his connection. And when we got to L.A., so we're getting off the plane. And you know how people, when it's time to disembark, everybody just falls.
Everybody wants to get out there.
Right. So the flight attendant had made an announcement. There's a couple people that need to get to international flights, so we need to let them off first. Mm-hmm. And so people were jumping in front of him, and I was like, so this guy sitting next to me, he looked at me, and I'm going, I can't believe this. They've asked these people 3 times, and they're still not letting this man off. Yeah. So I said, excuse me, can you please let this man get off the flight? He needs to get to the Philippines, and his flight is leaving in an hour, and he needs your help. And they looked at me, so this guy sitting next to him, he went, wow, that was nice.
That worked.
And so at that point, everybody moved back into their seats.
Yeah.
So there was this one young lady. She jumped out and went to go get her flight. So now the guy sitting next to me was a white guy who which was interesting, he gave up his first class seat.
Wow.
To somebody and sat in coach. And I'm not even sure because his flight, his other flight was delayed. So he decided he would give up his first class on that other flight and get on this coach. I said, you're out of your mind, right? Because I would have never gave up my first class seat. But when he saw what I did, and this girl stepped out in the aisle after everybody was letting this man through, there was 2 of them actually, older guys, and she jumped out there and he says, did you not hear the flight attendant? Mm-hmm. And she went, no, what are you talking about? She says, I didn't hear anything. She said they made the announcement 5 times. You should have heard it. Can you go sit down? And then the guy was able to get off the flight.
That's
amazing. You got to get ugly.
That's amazing. I'm glad what you did for him. That was important. Yeah, that was very important. It was very, very helpful to him, and I'm sure he definitely appreciates it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't sit back. I try to sit back, and people just make me have to step out of and take charge.
They don't know who they're messing with.
But I try not to. I really try to stay in my lane.
They don't know who they're messing with.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just, I guess in today's world, we just got a lot of people that are only thinking about themselves. Yes. And we can't function in this world by ourselves.
Exactly.
And we have to be courteous of other people and respect for other people. So those things drive me nuts.
That is true. That is true. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Gilbert Buchanan, the small business paramedic. If you want to give us a call here on the show, it's 323-293-3375. That's 323-293-3375.
And this is a show they're going to want to call in on because, they get a tiny bit of free legal advice.
Yeah, remember that.
Yeah, free legal, a little bit, not a lot. He's just going to give you just enough to tease you. But if you have any questions about how to protect your assets and structuring your company correctly so that your business is always protected, you might want to call in. So that's 323-293-3375.
Definitely. And the title of the show today, Crystal, what's the title of the show?
Doing the realities of doing business.
And that's really what we're going to do. We're going to tap into that. Crystal and I, we're going to have some discussions about the realities of business, getting a reality check. And then our special guest on the show, when we introduce him in about 15 minutes or so, he's going to give you his pointers from a legal standpoint and also from an industry standpoint. He's been in the industry for many years, and this man knows his stuff. So,
one of the things I was thinking in the beginning of the month, and you and I do this a lot, we're always like 2-3 months ahead of what's about to happen in our businesses. So here we are in this autumn, and we're getting ready to close out a year. This was a very fast, crazy year, but very fast year.
It was just January.
It was.
And now September going on to December.
Right. So you really need to be starting to plan for next year.
My tax is going to be due soon.
Everybody's taxes is going to be due. But again, what happens we all know right at this point that we got to do as much business as possible between now and November or December 1st. Because after that, December is kind of a dead month for most people. So you really want to be using that time to look into the future to see what your business is going to look like. Already have things in place that can be activated, because by January 1st, January 15th, you need to be able to have some income coming in. So that requires planning, and that was really why the topic was about the realities of doing business. We can't operate in the now.
Right.
We always have to be almost like seasonal, like they do in the fashion industry.
And with that being said, I want to put this question out there to you, all you entrepreneurs who are listening to the show today. Have you done a pro forma? Have you done any projections on your business as to how much sales you want to generate this year? And if so, are you close to achieving your target? If you wanted $350,000, $500,000 in sales, where are you right now? Are you halfway there? Are you 3/4 away there? We're 3/4 away in the year right now. We're in September. So if you're looking to make $500,000 in sales, then you already should have been way over 300,000. Have you achieved that yet? And what's your strategy? Is the strategy working?
Right, exactly. No, do they even have a strategy?
Do you have a strategy?
That's the question. Do you have a strategy on how you're doing business? My sister and I were laughing yesterday. For me, I think the ultimate in business is when someone reaches out to you that you don't know, and when you meet with them, they're a referral for someone that you've done business with. That's like the ultimate compliment.
Exactly.
I think, in business.
It is.
And so this week that happened to me. I got a phone call, and this is somebody I actually have done some stuff with about 2 years ago, and they called me to clean up something in their financials, in their QuickBooks program. They couldn't get their audit for this year until they got these items cleaned up. So I go in, and he kind of explained it to me, but it was a little bit different once I got there. And so when I looked at it, it's like, ooh, okay, this is a lot of work. So, and then I had already asked him, I said, so what's your budget?
Yeah.
And so he gave me his budget. And so he said, so do you know anyone that will do it for that amount? Like, yeah. He said, will you do it for that amount? No. So when we got and we start talking, and I was in his office, right? And so I had to move him out of his seat, and he was sitting across from me. Yeah. So I'm doing the business. I'm doing his looking through to see what he's saying, and I realized what he needed to have done. So I said, okay, look, I have someone I can refer you to. I said, but first of all, how did you get to me? Yeah. He says, because we were talking, he was saying, you're more than a bookkeeper, aren't you? I said, yeah, I am. He says, wow, okay. So then he was trying to skip doing an audit for 2015 and jump to 2016. Yeah. And I said, I don't know how an auditor is going to do that. Exactly. He said, but I don't want to pay for that yet. That is not going to work.
It doesn't work that way.
He goes, really? I said, yeah, really. Yeah. I said, you're going to have to clean up the 15. They got to get it. So you got to have a year-end total. Yeah. He goes, you really know what you're talking about, huh? I said, yeah. He says, and they told me that when I called around about you. I said, oh, you called? He said, yeah, I called around and asked people, had they done any business with you? And he says, you come highly recommended. He said, so you wouldn't do it for that price, huh? No, wouldn't.
It's like trying to go somewhere in your car, right? You got 4 flats on the tires. You fix 3, and the 4th one is left, but you're still trying to get on your journey, even though that flat isn't fixed.
Right, exactly.
It's crazy.
That's one of the things we talked about is, okay, now, once we get this fixed, there's some things that I'm seeing in your chart of accounts. They're 30 pages long. Yeah. We need to condense that. Yeah. And I said, I understand you're really attached to this chart of accounts. I said, but why don't we do this? Why don't we sit down after the first of the year and really explain to me why it's like it is, and then let's see if we can streamline it.
Exactly.
And so he was like, you're the only, he says, everybody's been, my accountant, he said, but you're the only one that explained it to me. I said, this is ridiculous. You run bookkeepers away because this is, you can't do business like this,
and
man.
The strange thing about that, Crystal, is many business owners, they don't understand that because the financial piece, that's not their strong suit. They don't really care about that. So they figure if they get a bookkeeper or CPA or an accountant to handle that, and then that person give them some advice, and they take that as gospel. That's what they're running with.
Right.
So he's probably been running with that for years, that approach, for years.
Yeah.
And now he's coming to someone who knows what they're doing, and he thinks that will still work. It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. And I told him, but where he wants to go, because we kind of talked about what's the future. And he was telling me, I said, we're going to have to make some changes over here so that you can reach out. One thing, he's a nonprofit, so we all know, especially me, from being the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars, getting money out of corporations nowadays is just like treacherous, man. And so you got to be on your game just to even get them to sponsor you. And they run a dance studio, really renowned in the community. And you know, the arts have to run on sponsorship and and donations and so forth. And so we got to get this so this is more streamlined so you can spend more time identifying new pots of money. Because the old pots, the relationships, they change. That's one of the things we're going through right now is all of our relationships that we've had for the last 10, 15, 25 years, they're retiring. And now everything is automated, which was purposefully so that you don't have a relationship. And it's hard to get money without relationships.
And even if some of these sponsorship dollars are not dried up, they're reducing the amount.
Oh, man.
So if you used to get $50,000 or $40,000, now they're saying, hey, you know, all we can give you now is 10.
It's almost insulting, man.
It is. It is. It is.
It's insulting. I have to like bite my tongue on a regular basis.
Oh, yes.
Like that's an insult to us. You want us to continue to do the programs and services for these people in the community, but you want us to do it with next to nothing. There's just no way.
And that's part of the reason why, as nonprofits, we're going to have to start looking at more creative ways of generating revenues, but at the same time, we got to get the IRS to recognize and understand that these creative ways are necessary, because they've got a block on what type of ways you can generate revenues. You see what I mean? And if you're trying to be too creative, they're going, oh, that's not how you do this. We're going to slap you with a fine.
Well, there is a new structure, social enterprise. In fact, a lot of the universities actually, it's now a college course, and that social enterprise is nonprofit and for-profit together. Hoping the premise behind it is that the for-profit can generate funds and revenue, sustain
the nonprofit portion.
The nonprofit, but at the same time, they're still open. The nonprofit can still solicit funds and donations and contributions, but they have that. So, you know, it's like the Homeboys, the bakery, they're one. Kaiser Permanente is a nonprofit that operates like a social enterprise. What is it? Out of the Closet?
Out of the Closet.
Because Out of the Closet has never used funding from anybody. They have been completely self-funded based upon their...
They do fundraisers, right?
They do fundraisers and events, but that retail where you donate and then sell, that's how they've been funding. Now, they get money for AIDS and things like that, but for that community, they purposely did that. They didn't want anyone to control it. They didn't want the government to control it. And
that's probably how we're going to have to start looking at RBD as a social enterprise. You see what I mean?
Which would be changing we do have product. We're in a little bit better position than a lot of people because we do have the resource guide. So we're more of a marketing, networking type of CBO. So we do have the resource guide. Once we have a mobile presence, then we can still sell, and we're a membership organization.
Maybe our next guest could give us some pointers as to how we can do that.
Right. You know, a lot of nonprofits actually operate profit-making entities, and which is how they sustain themselves.
Right.
And so there's nothing wrong with that. As a nonprofit, you can have a profit-making entity, and lots of nonprofits do that.
Yeah, so we're going to have to really look at that next year. I think it's very important. The community-based organizations, and I'm going to give you an example of one that really got hit hard, was the Los Angeles Urban League. And, the Urban League has been in the community for 96 years here in Los Angeles. And they had contracts and so forth, but, there was some internal stuff that took place. And so they've been put in for the last 5-6 years. They've been in a crunch from a financial standpoint. So eventually they had to sell their building in order to get funding for that. And they're really literally almost starting all over again. And it's important that we not let, in the African American communities, that we not let our CBOs, our community-based organizations, disappear.
Right.
Especially during the times that we're operating in now.
Especially one with such a historical footprint like the Urban League.
Right, because there is no one in this city that cannot say at some point in their when they first started out working, that they had not gone to the Urban League to be helped. I mean, I first went there, and I think I took a typing class there just to show up your skill set. So their job programs have already been there. My uncle, who is still in business and still working, he taught, and they started the LEAP program, which was the program to make sure that those contractors or apprentices could pass the construction test.
Right.
And so he's 85 years old. He's still doing that, but he did that under the leadership of John Mack. So most contractors, that electricians, the
guys,
all of those guys, surveyors, they all came through programs, through the LEAP program that the Urban League had.
Yeah, we can't afford to let those institutions go.
All right.
We have to have them.
We have to have them because we have to have support in our communities. So, but that's an example, because they had nothing to sell. I mean, it's a community-based organization that didn't charge for any services, and consequently, could not generate any kind of money. So completely dependent on governmental contracts and funding from banks and so forth. And
so that's a big part of the reason why I get so bothered when I'm hearing that this present administration want to cut all the funding to small business and entities like the Urban League and all of that right now, because I don't think they understand the value that those types of funding bring to the communities.
Well, I think the current administration, they don't care, because most of them were born with that silver spoon, and they've never had to take advantage of any social services or know that they even existed. I mean, other than what you know of, the food, the services from social services is a different service, which is for those that have no means and they need to support in order to help them get on their feet. And there needs to be reconstruction there, because it shouldn't be where you're permanently on social services. You should be there should be job training programs and programs like what we do at Mount SAC to help you gain a momentum,
skills and expertise, so you can graduate from those programs.
And get back into the system, but those programs that are set there for small businesses are vitally important to those businesses. The SBA, SCORE. I mean, where else do you go to get that information? So, but they didn't have that. They, they were coming into a business that was already established by their parents, and it's a legacy thing. Those of us in the communities, we don't have legacy businesses to venture into.
Well, hopefully our next guest can fill us in on some insights and also some pointers, some tips, how we can coordinate from the nonprofit end to the for-profit end to certain government entities, and some of the know-hows that he has as to how we can tie all of this together and we can benefit. It's now 3:30. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll come right back. You're on the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Gilbert Buchanan, the small business paramedic. Take a break.
Okay.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
And we're back on the Business Zone. This is Small Business Paramedic along with
Crystal Mitchell.
And we've got a fantastic guest on our show today. For you, those of you small business who really needed some legal advice on setting up your structure, setting up your holdings, today is going to be your day. You're going to have a special person here who is going to walk you guys down the certain process. So, Crystal, who do we have in the studio?
We have Mr. Rubert Francisco, who says he's Gilbert Buchanan. He doesn't quite look like you, but okay.
A.K.A. Gilbert Buchanan.
And he's the president of J.E. Holdings, Inc., one of the leading U.S. asset protection firms. His expertise also includes tax liability mitigation, abatement, corporate formation, and wealth strategy matters as it relates to asset protection. He was recently named in Cambridge as the Who's Who of Distinguished Individuals.
All
we should be really honored today.
I know.
In 2011 and 12, and Who's Who in Black Los Angeles in 2009 and 2012 under the category of entrepreneur. He's also a Who's Who in Culver City. He's a member of the UCLA Black Alumni Association, UCLA Law Alumni Association, and the chairman and Culver City annual MLK celebration. I didn't know they had one.
They've had one for years. I'm no longer the chairman. I left that position about 2-3 years ago. But yeah, they've had one for probably about 16 years now.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I never knew that. Wow.
See, that's a lot of things we don't know about this distinguished gentleman.
Because usually you have MLK and they do the one up and down Crenshaw. Did they have a celebration and the media didn't come, or they didn't? What's up with that?
They have one every year, it's unfortunately they don't get a lot of press coverage, but they do a very good job each year. The problem is they haven't been expanding it, and anything, if you've been doing it a long time, you have to bring change. You have to change it up so that you'll attract more people, more publicity, and you'll put on a more significant event, and that's anything in life.
Wow, because I'm the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. I think I should have known about that one. been that way for like 10 years. Wow, okay.
They kind of dropped you out of the loop there.
I have never heard of it. In fact, I'm going to refer a young man that's has a new paper in the Los Angeles area, and he's always looking for content. His name is Jason Lewis, and he's written an article on me and Recycling Black Dollars and the Business Zone, and he just did an incredible article about the gentrification in this community. Yeah. And so maybe we'll send him over there.
Good.
We'll get some information. So, welcome to the show, Rupert.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished Rubert Francisco.
So tell us, that was just something off of your website. So tell us a little bit more about you, and because that was just a piece of paper.
Sure. So let me offer this disclaimer up front. I no longer practice law, so I can't give legal advice.
Okay, that's cool.
But that turns out to be very good for what I do, which is asset protection.
Okay.
First, a little bit about my background. Grew up in New York, Brooklyn, New York. Moved out here after my sophomore year at the University of Hartford in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
So, it's the old story, go west, young man.
Gold out there in those hills.
So I came to L.A. actually for a visit, and I ended up staying didn't get back to New York for about 10 years.
I did too.
But so I got in L.A., it was February, and of course in New York it had been snowing, and I got on the plane with my big old New York overcoat, and I get off the plane here, and my jaw literally dropped, of course, because, oh my God, it's February, and these people are walking around in shorts and T-shirts. Couldn't believe it. So that weekend it was 10 years the next time I got back to L.A. This is from one weekend.
Okay.
So anyway, I ended up finishing up my undergrad at at UC Riverside. Mm-hmm. After that, I was a California State Assembly fellow, so I worked in the legislature for a year. But just before my fellowship, I was an intern in Lieutenant Governor Mervyn Dimley's office.
Okay.
And while I was there, I authored the first study that predicted that California would be a predominantly minority population in the future.
Oh, really?
Do you still have that study?
I
love to see it.
It's there. Now, obviously that wasn't my idea. I was 20 years old. I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah. So it was Lieutenant Governor Mervyn Dimley's idea, and he was thinking about those things, and he assigned that task to me, and I ended up doing that. By the way, while I was a California State Assembly fellow, which is a great program, by the way, for any undergrad who wants to do something else before he goes to the next level. Mm-hmm. The California State Assembly Fellowship Program was traditionally one of the mechanisms for obtaining employment in the legislature. Now, since that time, they've expanded the program. They have several more. They have a judicial fellowship, and they have a government fellowship. But they're great programs because they expose you to government at an early period in your formative life.
That's good.
That's really good.
So after that, I went to law school. I went to UCLA. After I graduated from UCLA, my first job was teaching business law at Trade Tech. After that, I started my practice. I was, at that time, the youngest black lawyer in Century City with his own practice.
Wow. Okay.
So practiced law for a period of for about 6 years. But since that time, I have been an entrepreneur. I have 7 companies, and they all do different things. But my primary company, and the thing that I do the most on a day-to-day basis, is asset protection. And we do that at JE Holdings, LLC.
Right.
So let me explain. So I'm going to talk about asset protection, and then I'm going to finish up with a discussion about corporate credit.
Okay.
Because I think these are two areas that most business people are unaware, have no familiarity with, and it's the old story. It's what you don't know that's going to hurt you. Okay. So very simply, first of all, JE Holdings LLC is the only black asset protection company in the country.
Wow.
And we've been doing this for 22 years.
I did not know that.
Most of the time, most people have never had a discussion with anyone about asset protection, especially in the black community.
Right.
So what asset protection is, really, fundamentally, it's just insurance. Now, we all agree that insurance is a very good idea, right? So we all have insurance. We all have auto, home, health, disability.
Right.
Insurance is an excellent idea. And the reason that we have insurance is that in case of a catastrophe, some unanticipated event happens, it doesn't wipe us out financially.
Right.
So we all agree that's a good thing. However, there is no insurance policy that anybody sells that will protect you from a lawsuit judgment. Okay? So you can see examples of this right now, how a person without asset protection has been ruined financially. So let's look at Suge Knight.
Yeah.
Why is he out of business? There's a lawsuit judgment. You look at 50 cents. He's in bankruptcy court as a result of lawsuit judgment. And you can go down the line. Ordinary people who come across circumstances, just every day you drive, for example, there's a possibility that you are going to be in a catastrophic auto accident. And no one really has enough insurance to cover themselves for all of the damages they can cause. So you don't even have to be a business owner. You can be an ordinary, everyday citizen who has to drive every day, and this can happen to you. And these days we're seeing automobile judgments now in the 10, 20, $30 million range. So if you're a typical person, and of course if you're a business owner, you have liability also that comes from running and operating your business. Anything can happen. If you're in certain professions like the medical profession, law and so on, there's an extra degree of risk in those businesses. Okay, so you're driving down the street, you get into a catastrophic auto accident. So let's say you have $2 million worth of insurance on your car, and you have another $2 million on your house, so that's $4 million. But you can easily cause $10, $12 million worth of damage, right?
Usually.
So once your auto policy and your homeowner policy pays off, whatever the balance is, you're personally liable for that. So what can happen to you? Okay, anything that you own, that you have your name on, is now subject to seizure.
Wow.
Okay? So bank accounts, stock brokerage, the only thing that they can't seize really is some retirement benefits. But otherwise, anything that you have your name on, they can take, which is why in asset protection we said we want you to own nothing but control everything, because if you own nothing, there's nothing they can take. So how do you go about owning nothing? But really, it's just a matter of titling. We don't put your name on anything.
It all's under legal structure?
Absolutely. So typically people want to be able to brag that they've achieved some measure of success in life because I have this, and I have that. I have the houses, I have the boats, I have the cars. Well, legally speaking, that's not a good thing at all, because whatever you have, someone can take from you. Okay. So here's how your business is at risk if you have one of these catastrophic auto accidents. Most people, and I'm going to talk about corporate formation shortly.
Okay.
So most people have the evidence of ownership of your entity, of your company. If you're an LLC, it's in the membership certificate.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a corporation, it's in the shares. Okay. So probably 99%, 95% of everyone has those documents in their name. Mm-hmm. Well, so remember I said anything that you have in your name is subject to seizure.
Right.
So if that happens to you, they can levy on your stock certificate, your membership certificate. So now you've just lost your business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
From an auto accident.
That's a wake-up call right there. Small businesses, are you listening? Entrepreneurs, are you listening? We're talking about how we're going to give you a reality check and give ourselves a reality check also. I'm nervous right now. I'm thinking about all my assets.
But there's a solution. So how do you prevent this from happening to you? Well, what we do, because we're going to take all your assets out of your name, we have to put it somewhere. These assets have to be owned by something. Mm-hmm. So we take the title from these various assets and we put them in the name of different structures. Different structures own them, whether they're corporations, LLCs, different kinds of trusts. And by the way, when someone says the word trust to you, that really doesn't mean anything because we design about 50 different kinds of trusts. So the word trust doesn't mean anything. And you have to look at the document itself to be able to determine what it's for and what it's designed to do.
Okay. So, like as putting your assets in a family trust, if you put your home, your car, your whatever, your jewelry, whatever, under that trust, that's a formation that will protect you, right?
No.
What do you mean no?
A living trust does not have asset protection benefits.
Oh.
A living trust has estate planning benefits, and that's what it was designed for. So when something happens to you, you don't have to go through the probate process. That's what a living trust or family trust does. Same thing. Okay. Doesn't have any asset protection benefits. So your house should not be in your name. First of all, nothing should be in your name. Let's start with that.
Okay.
That includes your house.
Okay.
Your house should be held either in an LLC or something called a qualified personal residence trust. Mm-hmm. Okay, that way, if something catastrophic happens, someone breaks their neck, slips and falls on the property, the rest of your assets are not affected. Just what the entity owns, which will be an LLC or the qualified personal residence trust. Mm-hmm. Your car should not be in your name. Your cars especially should not be in your name. Your car should be in an LLC.
So whether it's leased or owned, then you can still put it in the trust?
In the LLC.
In the LLC.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Now typically, you're going to run into if your car is paid off, if your vehicle is paid off, it's not a problem to have the title in an LLC. Mm-hmm. But generally, you're going to have problems if you have a lien holder. They're not going to want you to do that. Right. But we have some workaround solutions for that also. Okay.
So let's talk about the home. If you need to get a home equity line of credit, but it's in this LLC, how does that work?
Not a problem. You can move it in and out whenever you want.
Okay. So the lender won't see that as a barrier?
No, because if he does, you just quit claim it out of the LLC.
Oh, it could be.
You do the transaction, and when the transaction is finished, you quit claim it back into the LLC.
Oh, really?
Only qualified person. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's very simple. Easy. Yeah. So the other thing too, if you have a house, you really should be familiar with what is called a land trust. And the best thing to do with a house before you put it in an entity is really to put it in a land trust. Mm-hmm. Land trust accomplishes a lot of things. First of all, if someone is looking to find out if you own a piece of property or not, they're not going to find it. All they're going to find is the name of the land trust. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, there are some issues with regard to transferring properties without triggering a reassessment from the county recorder.
Exactly. I was going to ask that.
With the use of the land trust, we have a workaround solution for that. Okay? That isn't available if you just transfer it directly into the LLC or some other kind of entity.
So when you do the workaround, that doesn't trigger the county at all?
Absolutely. That's the workaround. That's what the workaround's designed to do, yeah.
So they're just operating. They don't even know what's going on back there.
No, they don't.
Wow.
Now, okay, so you need to know what something called a family limited partnership is, because this is what's going to save your business if something catastrophic should happen to you. So we take the name, we take the title to your business, so the stock certificate, the membership certificate, and we put it in what is called a family limited partnership. Family limited partnership, also known as an FLP, is an entity that's similar in nature to an LLC. That is, it has the charging order protection. So, 99. So if you're husband and wife, 1% would be owned by the husband, 1% would be owned by the wife, and 98% would be held by the family limited partnership. So now you go out and you get in that catastrophic auto accident, or you get a judgment as a result of your business activity, the most that person can reach is 2% of your business as opposed to all of it. Okay?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's some good points there.
Again, the point is we don't want you to own anything. We want you to control everything, but not own anything.
Right.
Not owning anything means we're taking titles out of your name. Okay, so there are solutions to all of these problems. The point is, most people don't even know they have these problems.
Right, exactly. But because they are under the impression that they what you just said about the estate planning piece. Someone comes to them and say, "Hey, you need a living trust, and that will protect you." That's what they say, and on the backside of that, you will avoid your probate, which is what most of them are concerned about. But the in between part, they don't quite get that. And even when you hear it, because I would assume the one that we could use as a great example was O.J. Simpson, because when they went to destroy him, the only thing they couldn't touch was his pension, and whatever had to do with his NFL pension, right?
That's correct.
And that's what he's living off of now.
Yeah.
But everything else seemed to be open season for him.
Right. Sales of the books and everything else.
So he should have had the rest of it, which you would think people that's making that kind of money would have that kind of protection.
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't, and that includes a lot of athletes, by the way. I run into a lot of athletes all the time, and I ask them two questions. One, has anyone had an asset protection discussion with you? And they say no. Has anyone talked to you about being offshore? And they say no. These are sophisticated kinds of concepts and issues and knowledge. And most of them, their advisors are not sophisticated enough to be able to have these discussions with them. So, by the way, we also do some very sophisticated offshore structuring at JE Holdings. So anyone that has a great amount of wealth, like your athletes and your entertainers, they need to be offshore. 2/3 of all the world's wealth is offshore. If you remember the presidential election with Mitt Romney a few years ago, you remember Mitt Romney had about $250 million offshore. So all the wealthiest people are offshore. Well, why is that? There's got to be a reason why they're all in the same place, right? Okay. Being offshore allows you a great deal of privacy, first of all. In terms of investments, there are lots of opportunities that are available offshore that are not available here in the U.S. And more importantly, no one can go seize or levy on your accounts, your wealth, when they're offshore. Because U.S. judgments are no good offshore. So anyone that has a great deal of wealth needs to have an offshore asset protection trust. Okay. There's also offshore banking that you can park your money offshore. That way the IRS or no one else can come and levy on it, or come and find out what you have in your account.
So let me ask you this, going back a little bit to the equity, owner's equity and all of that. So when we're talking about business, one of the things that business owners pride themselves on is having equity. So, and assets. So how do we present that then as a business owner if you have it, say your business is in your LLC and then you have some of your other assets in trust? How do you convince, say, a lender or a partner who wants to join the organization that, hey, I've got I'm asset savvy. Let's do business. How do we do that when it doesn't show that you own anything?
Well, I mean, eventually you can, because you can always show that, okay, this entity is owned by this entity is owned by, then I own all of them.
Even though it's not on paper.
Well, even though it's not in my name, but yeah, you can trace that back. So that's not an issue.
And they would be comfortable with that?
Some financing institutions are, some are not. It doesn't matter, though. What you should be concerned about is that you know that if anything happens, you're going to keep all that you have. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. No one can take it away from you.
Right.
And if you're not structured with an asset protection plan properly, that can happen. Mm-hmm. So let me also talk about corporate formation, because this is very, very important. You can't go to LegalZoom. You can't go to your accountant. By the way, accountants have ruined more business people than in the history of mankind. Every accountant has the same language. And the reason for that is, they went to accounting school many, many years ago when they taught when business was pretty much all the same. So you're going to make something, you're going to sell something, you have to store it somewhere. Mm-hmm. So you're going to lose money your first 3 years. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to do that, then you have to set yourself up and you have to make an election to be taxed as an S corp. Mm-hmm. So that was good and true 30, 40, 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's no longer true today. But every accountant, and I see this all the time, you've got to be an S. You've got to be an S. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that so many times.
The S stands for stupid.
But you know what? That's interesting, though, because that is a big question that I get in all the classes I've taught. I've had CPAs come in, and that question's been asked: which one should I do? Should I do a S corp or C corp?
And the universal answer is S. The S stands for stupid. There are some circumstances under which making the election to file as an S is valid and it'll work. But for most people, that isn't true, and it only ends up hurting you. Why does it hurt you? Because when you make the election to file as an S, you're being taxed at a personal tax rate, which are the worst tax rates they are. So you always want to be taxed as a corporation because those are the best rates they are.
Right.
Okay? That's the simplest I've ever heard it explained.
That's why I'm taking it in right now.
Now, here's the other thing. When you decide to establish a business, there's some very important legal questions that you have to entertain in order to determine the best form for you. Accountants don't know this. These are all legal considerations. So you have to know choice of venue. What state are you going to set up in?
Right.
Different states have different laws that with different levels of protection. You have to be concerned about taxes. What are the taxes in that state? Do they have any? You have to be concerned about officer protection. As a business owner, you have to be concerned about that. You want to know that you are set up in a state where there's little possibility that you're going to be sued as a business owner, as an officer.
And with that being said, we're at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and take a break. For those of you who are listening, I hope this is as intense to you as it is for us. We're learning so much about this, and that's why we were so excited about having our guests in the studios with us today. We have Mr. Rubert Francisco from JE Holdings, and he's here to educate us. I should say this again. JE Holdings LLC. So he's here to educate us today, and Crystal and I, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hello, meet Larry. Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called Small Biz Pro to keep her business organized, business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. Small Biz Pro is a 3-in-1 cloud-based business management, procurement, and market research assistance system designed to help businesses become business ready, contract ready, and bank loan ready. It also provides back-office operation solutions for small businesses. Lucy is able to stay ahead of her competitors because she uses Small Biz Pro to manage her business daily. Lucy just clicks on Small Biz Pro from her tablet, mobile phone, laptop, or any internet-accessible device for data retrieval, and she's got it. Lucy introduces Larry to Small Biz Pro, and now Larry is more organized and can now find all of his documents and new bid opportunities in seconds. Larry now saves $120 in labor costs for each missing or misplaced document. Just simply go to your web browser and log into smallbizpro.net and register today for a limited 30-day free trial offer. Services start as low as $1 per day. Let's put the competition out of business. Small Biz Pro. If you stay ready, you don't need to get ready. Register now at smallbizpro.net and begin saving money. Email info@smallbizpro.net or call 626-533-1186.
So we're back on the Business Zone with
Krista
and Gilbert Buchanan, the small business paramedic, and our special guest, Mr. Rubert Francisco. And we're talking about some great things about asset protection, asset planning, and we're getting an education here. So all you entrepreneurs who are listening right now, you're tuning in, I really, really would like you guys to give a call because I'm sure you got questions, just like we have questions too. You want to give us a call here. Our phone number is 323-293-3375. That's 323-293-3375. So, Crystal, did you have a question for Mr. Francisco?
So, and I find it interesting, especially from an accountant. I get, some of it, what you're saying, but they understand. I mean, it's all about taxation, right? So if they're telling you to a structure an S when they know that the better corporation, as a C, you'd get a better tax rate. I don't get that.
But they don't know because these are all legal matters. These are not accounting matters.
Oh, okay.
They don't.
And they also tell you not to, and I've had clients that have come to me because their CPA have told them, only do a corporation in California, don't do Delaware, don't do Las Vegas, just do it in California. So I guess that's erroneous. Or
actually, you should never do it unless you have to. There are some types of businesses you have to be incorporated here. Mm-hmm. California is one of the worst places to be incorporated.
Really?
For many reasons, including taxation. Of course, we have very high corporate tax rate. But California is not a business-friendly state, so it doesn't offer a lot of protection for officers or business owners. Mm-hmm. Okay, Delaware is no good. Delaware is old news. Nevada is old news. Anyone that tells you to incorporate in Nevada is a fool.
Okay.
Beginning in 2006, Nevada started changing their laws. So they went from first to worse between 2006 and now. What happened was lots of people used to go to Nevada. You know, over the years we've incorporated thousands of people in Nevada. Mm-hmm. But this was prior to 2006 when the law started to change. At that time, Nevada used to require very little, prior to 2006, it used to require very little information. And so anonymity was an important thing for a lot of clients. So that's why they went there. But that changed starting in 2006 and forward. So they required, I think July 1, 2006, they started to require that anyone that was incorporated in Nevada had to have a Nevada state business license. And in the Nevada state business license, you had to list names, addresses, social security numbers of anyone that had a beneficial interest in the entity. Mm-hmm. So right away, anonymity went out the window. Mm. In addition to that, since that time, the laws have changed, and just in the past 2 years, they've now changed the law again, and it's now requiring you to make, first of all, this business license was $250 a year. Mm-hmm. Their fees have gone up, and now they're requiring many types of entity to file an additional kind of filing if you're incorporated in Nevada.
Okay.
So where are the best places in terms of
where to incorporate?
Costs, to incorporate and to form an LLC? Okay.
Don't automatically go to an LLC. An LLC is a very, very complicated entity, and especially in California, by the way. So let me tell you this. In California, the laws regarding LLCs changed about 2 years ago. So now we have about 8 different kinds of operating agreements that we use when we're setting up LLCs in California. 8.
And that's supposed to be that's what we were told, that the LLC was the simplest formation that you could do.
It's not.
Okay.
Especially in California. Because if you don't have the right operating agreement, something happens, you're going to be held personally liable. And
that's the whole idea, is to prevent you from being personally liable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So depending on what you're doing, now, if you're in an entertainment business, there are many states that have different kinds of benefits tax-wise for production companies who are making motion pictures and television. Probably the best state all around to incorporate in is Wyoming.
Tell us why.
Alaska is a good state. South Dakota. And a lot of it's because these states have rules that has rules that have to do with the charging order, what is called foreclosure of a charging order. Mm-hmm. So if you're in California, and most states allow foreclosure of a charging order, that means the reason why people like LLCs were designed with asset protection benefits in mind.
Okay.
C corporations were designed for tax benefits. Okay. So if you're doing something risky, so if you're a landlord, if you have a taxi service, an airplane, anything that's risky, you need to operate under the rubric of an LLC because of what is known as the charging order protection. With a charging order, if someone gets a judgment against you, it's called a charging order. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to collect on a charging order because that person has to go to court in front of a judge and ask the judge to foreclose on that order. That means allow them to proceed to collect against you. Okay? And California and many states allow this. States like Wyoming and Alaska and a few others do not allow foreclosure of a charging order. So if someone gets a judgment against you, it's just too bad because they're not going to be able to collect.
So even if the business is stationed here in California, but you incorporate in Wyoming, those laws will still protect you? Because then you're considered a foreign corporation to them, right?
You're a foreign corporation if you register as one, which means you do the filing.
Okay.
You don't have to do that. If you maintain what is known as a corporate presence in the state
Right.
where you're incorporated, then the issue becomes murky. It's not very clear then, so you have a fighting shot at being able to avoid California taxes as well as California law. It's always a difficult proposition because California will just not let you.
Yeah. They won't let you, and that's the part I'm coming to right now, because when we do certifications for small businesses, they want, if you're not incorporated here or if your LLC is not here, then you're considered a foreign corporation. So now you have to fill out those foreign corporation paperwork in order to satisfy that for your certification.
Right.
So how does that work for the small business owner who doesn't know those things?
Well, if you're going to be playing in that space where you're going after these contracts and so on, and the rules are the rules, you have to file. You have to file. But what happens is if there is a problem and you are incorporated somewhere else, you have a fighting chance of maintaining officer protection based on the laws in your home state. Okay.
Now let me ask. So let's say, based upon the certification, is there some other protection for an officer, for the officers of a corporation, if you are incorporated here in California?
Well, California doesn't have as much protection as they do in other states. Okay. Wyoming is pretty much by the way, Delaware is old news also. People are always talking about Delaware. Delaware is old news.
And Nevada.
Well, it had a very short. I do think in the past, over the years, I've worked with companies that they had Delaware.
Yeah.
Vegas, Nevada was really the most popular one that everyone had for a long time. I have a friend that actually has. They've always done their incorporations there in Las Vegas.
Just out of curiosity, we know here in California you got to pay $800 to the state if you're registering as a C Corp or an S Corp or an LLC. In Wyoming, how much is the fee for that to file as a corporation? Do you know?
Well, Wyoming has no state corporation taxes, first of all.
Really? No taxes. But what about the filing fee?
Filing fees are very, very low. Filing fees are about $100.
Really?
And then the renewals are about $50 a year. Yeah.
Interesting.
But that's not the reason to go there. The reason to go there is all the protection that they get.
I know. I'm thinking protect, but when I think protection, I'm thinking all around. I'm thinking 360 because I'm looking at certifications. I'm looking at the operation side. I'm looking at everything.
Yeah. The big thing is, by the way, the other reason why you don't want to go to LegalZoom or your accountant is because this issue of protection that varies from state to state, you need to know that.
Right.
And if this isn't what you do for a living, you're not going to know that.
Right.
For example, you're not going to know that Wyoming has certain types of structures that nobody else has.
Right.
Which are all beneficial to a business owner. Nobody else has them.
Yeah.
Right. But as an attorney, if your client, you know that they've filed in whatever state, Las Vegas, but you would be reaching back to your clients and letting them know we need to revisit your structure if the laws are changing in a state that they've actually they've received their corporation in or their structure in.
Well, you always want to do that, especially if they're in Nevada. Nevada is, you need to they need to be out of Nevada right now. Because, by the way, if you don't have this Nevada state business license, there's an argument that you're not really incorporated. So if something happens, you're going to be held personally liable.
Okay.
Okay, so this brings up a good point. So let's say someone like me who wants to do business in Nevada. So my incorporation is done in Wyoming. Nevada is going to view me as a foreign corporation, so therefore I'm going to have to fill out that foreign corporation paperwork and pay that fee. Will they still consider me as a corporation then once I've done that, or are they still going to look at me like, hey, you're not an entity because you're not registered with us?
Now remember the full faith and credit clause of the U.S. Constitution is what allows you to drive in New York on your California license and so on. Mm-hmm. That's why all these major TV networks are established in Delaware, but they can do business anywhere. So if you decide, wherever you're incorporated, if you decide that you want to establish your entity as a foreign corp in another state, then that's a determination that you make and you do. However, there's such a thing called corporate formalities and maintaining in the state in which you're incorporated, maintaining what is known as a corporate presence. That is an address and a phone number. And if you do that, then you don't have to register as a foreign corp in another state. But this is not a very clear-cut thing, because all these other states, if you're making money there, they're going to want to tax you.
They're going to want their
Of
taxes,
course.
exactly. And they're going to want you to have a business license as well.
Right. So this is a fight that you'll have on a case-by-case basis.
Right. Because that was the thing with California, why they changed a few years ago when other people were going to Delaware and Nevada, becoming corporations in those areas. They're going, okay, so you want to go into those areas. Well, we're going to tax you guys for doing business in our state, and this tax is going to be equivalent to what the fees may be or even more.
That's California.
Yeah. But this is good information for us, though. And I'm sure for those of you entrepreneurs who are listening right now who are trying to decide, how do I incorporate? What structure do I need to establish? How's this going to benefit me? Before I move forward, I just want our guest in the studio, Mr. Francisco, to tell you, when you're determining a structure, what are the things you should look at when you're deciding that you're going to, I'm going to choose this structure over that structure? So could you tell the audience a little bit, what are some of the things they should be thinking about? Because when I think of these things, I'm thinking about liability, I'm thinking of taxation, I'm thinking of benefit. So,
and do the particular industry you're in have any bearing on which formation structure that you should?
Absolutely. So there are lots of considerations that go into making a determination of where you're going to be established as an entity.
Right.
And that includes the various laws of that particular jurisdiction, taxation, what kind of taxes are they going to assess? Few states don't have any corporate taxes at all, so you want to be there. What kinds of laws they have that will protect shareholders, officers, and so on. How much information do they share with the IRS? The IRS hates Wyoming because Wyoming won't share any information with the IRS.
How about Texas and Florida? Do they share anything? Because there's no state taxes there.
Yeah. Wyoming and Alaska and South Dakota are pretty much the best places, depending on what you want to do. Now, if you're in the entertainment business and you're doing film production, then you want to do those in states that offer a lot of film credits and tax credits.
So Crystal and I are in professional services, so would we be protected under the Wyoming law as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Now, and I mentioned this before we went to commercial break. The new industry coming to California is the cannabis industry, and primarily for the benefit of taxes, because they're going to use those proceeds for homelessness and job creation. So they would be a bit limited on when they start to structure their businesses, right?
Yeah, for some kinds of businesses, California requires that you have to be incorporated here. So if you're doing real estate, if you're practicing law, if you're practicing medicine, and now cannabis, they're going to require that you're incorporated here. Okay. So there's no getting around it.
Okay. What about so if you're not, let's say if you're in a support business, a third-party business of the cannabis industry, that taxation would be different, I would assume. I mean, if like Gilbert and I were providing corporate compliance services and training to those entities, we're not directly in the industry. We're just going to be supporting that industry.
Yeah, as long as California doesn't require you to be incorporated here, then you don't need to be.
Okay. Because even with professionals, obviously real estate agents, doctors, and lawyers. Even then, and I think I've had this conversation before. Having a corporation, a C corp, is probably best suited for your industry. Based upon that industry, right? I mean, you shouldn't be operating as a sole proprietor in any entity.
Well, you should never do that anyway.
Right.
Actually, in terms of structuring, if you're an LLC, because you have to be, because you're doing something that has a lot of risk in it.
Right.
So now you have asset protection benefits, right? But if you're making a lot of money, you also want tax benefits. So the ideal thing to do is to have your LLC that's owned by your C Corp, and now all the monies that you make in the LLC passes through, because remember, LLCs have passed through taxation. Well, I mean, they don't have to be. They can also make an election to be taxed as a corporation. But in California, that's problematic because you may lose some of your asset protection benefits. That's why LLCs are very, very complicated structures, especially in California.
Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So if your LLC is owned by your C Corp, now you have the best of both worlds. So you have asset protection benefits and tax benefits.
Okay.
But most people don't know this, and they never do this.
But you have to make that determination that you want your LLC to be a pass-through, though, up front.
Well, yeah. So your LLC can also be taxed as a corporation,
right?
But then you lose some of the benefits of the charging order. So that's it.
So they really do need to have a conversation with an attorney.
Oh yeah.
Before they make those decisions.
We definitely need to bring him in front of this committee so we can.
So the other thing about LLCs is if you are a sole member LLC, so it's just you.
Yeah.
Lots of times you're going to lose the charging order protection.
Because it's just a solo person.
It's just you.
Yeah.
Oh, which is why you'd be doing that, though, right?
So you really need to have two members.
Two members.
So good question. Good point. So now, how do you bring in a second person who you may want to have as a silent partner? How do you do that?
Well, it doesn't matter if you're a single member LLC. It doesn't matter if you're in Wyoming, because Wyoming allows that. Right. And other states allow that.
Okay.
So that won't be a disadvantage to you, but it is a disadvantage in California. Okay. Not a problem. Just put someone else, a relative, someone you trust.
Yeah.
You put them on there as a minority.
Okay, so they could be like a 49%er. You're the 51%er because you're going to make the decisions. You're going to sign the documents.
Yeah, they can be a lot less than 40 now.
Yeah. Make them maybe a 10, 20, 15%.
But single-member LLCs don't work in California because you won't get the protection.
Oh, wow.
Did you know that, Crystal?
No, I did not know that. And I don't. And in fact, as I said, I've had many people come in when I've done like small business clinics, and I've had attorneys come in to actually talk about that entity. And or CPAs, and that has never been discussed in any. I mean, because we're having them, if they're writing their business plan, they got to decide on, and most of them have no clue. Right. So I usually bring in an expert. And no, that has never been part of that.
And just like Rupert said, if those guys are CPAs, they're not attorneys, so they probably don't know.
CPAs won't know this. Most attorneys don't know this.
Right.
But it's because your focus and your specialty is
asset protection.
Protection.
Absolutely.
So let me ask this question, because I'm always doing forensics and digging and trying to find out things. So let's say there's an existing LLC right now, is a sole owner LLC, and he just listening to the show and he hears that and he's going, "Wow, I thought I was protected, but now I'm not because I'm a sole owner." What if I want to go ahead and register in Wyoming as an LLC? Can he go ahead and do that and now receives the protection that he wanted?
Absolutely. And also, he gets to keep his original incorporation date, and that's important for corporate credit.
Okay.
Yes, and we definitely need to talk about the corporate credit, because a lot of corporations, that's another area. I mean, this whole area here, for business owners and small business owners that I interact with, small business owners that you interact, they don't have a clue about any of this. They just open up that door, put that signal out. And they'll go out, just like you said, they'll go to LegalZoom just because they know they're supposed to have something, and they'll feel better protected with something. Even when they go to do their taxes, they're not really getting the advice that they should be getting and when they're even doing their taxes.
But I tell you, the reason a lot of these small businesses are not doing the C Corp and they're doing S Corp or LLC is because the burden of the paperwork. When you're a C Corp, you got to do your board of directors meeting minutes. When you first get it, you got to do that first board of directors meeting minutes. You got to do that resolution. You got to do the shareholders agreement, the stock certificates, and all of that. That right there is the reason why they shy away.
Well, look, these are called corporate formalities. Okay,
right.
You have to do them if even with an LLC, your operating agreement. It's very important, that you have the right kind of operating agreement, and it has the right provisions in there to accomplish whatever it is you want to do. And that's why you can't go to LegalZoom. Look, if you go to any attorney's office, you can pay anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000 to incorporate. The reason for that is that they're not just trying to steal your money. They're not trying to overcharge you. The process of setting up a business takes time and effort. LegalZoom and your accountant, they're just filing services. All they're doing is getting you a name at the Secretary of State's office. After you get that name, there are a number of things that you have to do. And these are under the title of corporate formalities to be legally in business and have an entity that will protect you if something happens. They can't, LegalZoom can't do that because they don't charge you enough. It takes time and energy to do that. It takes about 4 hours. We've been doing this about 35 years. It takes about 4 hours to put the rest of those documents together. Now, if you're going to have investors, now it's even more complicated.
Yeah, because most of the time they use boilerplate type of articles.
With investors, if there's going to be a number of shareholders, all of these things have to be taken into consideration, and documents have to be prepared for these different sorts of circumstances. Your accountant can't do that because he doesn't know. LegalZoom won't do that because they don't charge you enough, and they don't know anyway. Do you know LegalZoom's got people that they're paying $15 an hour to do this stuff for you?
Yeah, but again, like you said, when you bring someone in, and I've been part of. I mean, we've done it for RBD. Is bring in people to talk about it, and when they're asked the differences, really, when they say a C corp, you should be making over a couple $100,000 or $500,000 before you even think about having a C corp before it of any value to you. Yeah. So basically, they come down to unless you don't want to pass through, then do the LLC. That'll give you some sort of protection, and you won't be out there naked as a sole proprietor or a partnership. That's usually the way the conversation goes.
Yeah, and that's the road to ruin.
Say,
my.
Expose yourself to me first, and then later I tell you how to protect yourself.
Oh, right, exactly. and again, like you said, and usually the conversation is you don't really want an S corp or C corp because there's too much paperwork.
Yeah.
I mean, have you heard that?
Yeah, that's
the conversation that I've always heard
usually what
when
it
they've
is.
come in. And I mean, I've been at major conferences, and that's usually the conversation.
You know how many corporations I know have never done a meeting minute? A lot of them never done one meeting minute because they don't like the paperwork.
And the big thing about LLCs is their operating agreement. That's what's going to protect you.
Yeah.
And you have to know what to put in it and what to leave out of it.
So with that being said, Rupert, what if I have an LLC right now? My LLC is with Crystal and I. So we probably just draft up an operating agreement. Probably doesn't make sense because we don't know any better. And we said, okay, you know what? Let's go to Rupert's organization, JE Holdings, and have him put together one. What would that cost us, and what type of agreement that operating agreement would be?
It depends on what you're doing, what business you're in. First of all, if you're not doing anything that has any risk in it, you really don't need an LLC. Okay. If you're making a lot of money, you really need to be operating under the rubric of a C corp.
Now, isn't professional services a risk-adverse business? Isn't that a lot of risk in that? Because you're giving advice as a professional consultant, and advice could be misconstrued or taken a different way by the client. So that's why we need to protect ourselves against that.
Not a problem. Then you have your LLC as your entity that's dealing with the public, and then it's owned by a C corp. So now you have the best of both worlds, asset protection and tax benefits.
Okay. So maybe then what we need to do is to first start out with a C corp, and then you know how you can have DBAs underneath your C corp, then the LLC would be one of those, right?
Well, if you're doing anything that's risky, you need to be operating under the rubric of an LLC.
Okay, so you'd have to establish two different structures?
Yes. Yeah, what your risk management would be under each one of those.
Okay.
We're in the last 30 minutes before the show is over. Let's talk about corporate credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because most of our business owners don't know where to even start. I've set it up for nonprofits, churches and pretty large, medium to large sized churches, but on small businesses. And then after the recession, that changed because a lot of them were operating with lines of credit and so forth and so on. And that kind of changed everything. The recession kind of changed the looks and the feel from bankers and from everybody. So what would be the steps, and give us an overall view of what that looks like, and then how does one go about acquiring it?
Okay. Most businesses fail because of undercapitalization.
For sure.
Okay. They don't have enough money.
Right.
Many small business owners tend to use whatever their personal resources are to fund their business.
Which is when they fail, they destroy everything.
Absolutely. Your credit goes down the tube.
Yeah.
Okay. So banks are not a viable alternative for small businesses because that is not their focus. That's not where they make the most money. Banks will gladly lend to established businesses that have financials, and
assets,
income, and everything else. They'll gladly do that.
Of course, there's mitigated risk is small.
And of course, they'll loan a lot of money so that's how they make their money. So they're not set up for small businesses.
Okay.
So corporate credit in the past, many people have thought that it wasn't available to them. They didn't think about it. No one advised them about it. But after the recent economic meltdown, the space has changed. There are now many alternative lenders and financial institutions. Now, look, if you have money, the only way you're going to make money is if you loan it.
Right, which, yeah. Okay?
So there are literally thousands of those entities now that want your business. But you have to have your corporation's, your business credit in place because it has to meet their underwriting criteria. So that requires that you build the credit for your entity. Now, many people don't realize that you don't have to. The prevailing thinking and wisdom is that you have to be in business 2 years before anyone will loan you or extend credit to you. That is not true. We do corporate credit under the rubric of CDNP LLC. Okay, that's our corporate credit company. And we do two things there. One, we have a basic program for small businesses that may have started yesterday. If you started a business 5 minutes ago, in 4.5 months, we can have your credit set up. And you'll have about $75,000 worth of credit.
Okay.
Now, business credit, in some instances, is like personal credit, and that it can grow over time. So if you start off, if your personal credit is $550, you can take that up to $850. So business credit is the same way. Over time, if you take care of it, it'll grow.
Okay.
When financial institutions see that, oh, you're responsible with money, they'll give you more money.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, now, in the past, it was, well, first of all, everything's changing all the time, including personal credit, business credit. Okay? So in the past, when the prevailing wisdom that was that you have to be in business for 2 years before anyone will extend credit to you, lots of people were going out to get these shelf corporations to show they had been in business X number of years. The business credit agencies are aware of that now. So when they do their due diligence, they look, all these computers now everywhere talk to each other.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to find out anything about you. So they look, if you say I've been in business 10 years, well, they look to see, first of all, when your bank account was established. Oh, that was 2 weeks ago? And then your name only appeared as president 3 weeks ago, the Secretary of State's database. Okay. So it's unwise to go out and buy a shelf corporation if you think that's going to be of benefit to you when you're setting up your corporate credit. It is not.
Okay.
Now go ahead.
Okay. So corporate credit is based on what you've established in terms of vendor credit first. Okay, so you want to first establish vendor credit?
So that's like establishing you're Dun & Bradstreet?
Right. So there are three credit agencies that have to do with business, three business credit agencies. Of course, the 800-pound gorilla is D&B, Dun & Bradstreet. But Experian also has a business credit agency that's used by a lot of companies.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
And so does Equifax.
Equifax does too? Really? But now they're in hot water, so nobody wants to go there.
Well, that's on the personal side. They have a business side also.
Oh, okay, completely separate from, okay.
Right. So now we don't know if they've hacked the business
side. We just know that they hacked the personal side.
Okay. So the reason why it's people don't know about establishing business credit, which makes perfect sense, by the way, because if you set up your corporation's credit, it has nothing to do with your personal credit.
Right.
And don't be fooled. Many people will say, well, you have to have good personal credit to establish business credit. That's not true. Your personal credit only comes into play if you're trying to get a lot of money, they're going to look at your personal credit. Other than that, when you're setting up your business credit, they're not going to look at your personal credit.
Which is why you should have your legal structure in place. Because, I mean, if it was just Crystal Mitchell Company, and I am Crystal Mitchell, and I'm a sole proprietor, then yes, they would be looking at my personal credit, right?
Absolutely.
But if I was Mitchell Business Solutions and an LLC or a C Corp or whichever one, then they're looking just at what I've established under my business, right?
Yes, you have to have a corporate entity for you to get corporate credit.
Okay.
There's no getting around that.
So that means a sole prop is not considered that then. If they're a sole prop and they've been in business for 10 years, then they're not going to be looked at like an established company?
So what you do, and that depends, by the way, if you've had vendors reporting in that period of time, D&B will give you a number. Whenever you do business with anyone and they report, D&B automatically gives you a number, by the way. You don't have to pay D&B to get a number.
Right, which is why it's so amazing to me that people don't have their Dun & Bradstreet. I mean, there are parts of it that you do pay for.
Yeah.
The monitoring and so forth and the changing of your structure.
Yeah.
But just to set up the account and get the monitoring of, if you're a realtor, a retailer and you got a vendor that you're buying your sodas from, Coca-Cola or Pepsi, then they're coming every 2 weeks or so, right? So you're paying them because most of them will let you have it on credit anyway.
See, the thing about it is, though, a lot of small businesses, Dun & Bradstreet, I think they do a disservice to themselves because they come at small business like wolves in sheep clothing, because there are ways that they can get the number for free, but they try to make them think that, hey, you got to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So now a lot of businesses shy away from that, and that's probably part of the reason why they haven't been able to establish credit.
Yeah, most of the times when you get a call from Dun & Bradstreet, they're trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, D&B have several companies, and most of them are marketing companies.
Exactly. Like First Research, that's one of their companies. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Most of them are marketing companies, and they're trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
But so, for example, you can get a number for free, but it'll take you 30 days. They'll give you a number free, but it'll take you 30 days. But if you pay $49, they'll give it to you in 5 days. Mm-hmm. So they're always trying to sell you something, which is why if you're in this process, you need to be guided by people. Otherwise, you're going to end up paying $1,500 for their credit monitoring service, and maybe you don't need to.
Right.
Okay? So there's a way to do this. The biggest part of starting the process of building credit is finding vendors who will give you credit even though you have no credit.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So 99% of all businesses won't do that. So that's where we come in. We know the ones that will. And that is how you start the process.
See, that's a good point right there.
Yeah, because before the meltdown, the general consensus was Arrowhead, they did it. Staples would do it. Mm-hmm. Places that you wouldn't build up a huge account. You would just your monthly water bill or your monthly or your supplies, your office supplies. So that was usually the first place that we started. A lot of the churches that I set up their D&Bs, that was how I restructured them. Was setting their corporate account with with Staples or Office Depot or one of those entities.
And then they reported to Dun & Bradstreet.
And then they were reported to Dun & Bradstreet.
And then that's how it started building.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, not all businesses report to
Exactly.
D&B. Some of them report to Experian, some of them report to Equifax.
So,
so you have to know who's reporting to who.
Right.
Okay.
And the only way to know is to tap into your service.
Well, yeah, you have to be guided by this. So we have the basic service where we'll set up your corporate credit for you. They call it building corporate credit. Mm-hmm. We also have for people who have been in business, who are well established, they have financials and bank balances and everything else that you need. Mm-hmm. They may not qualify for traditional bank financing, But we know that there are thousands of other lenders out there that will finance them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's the second portion of what we do, which is financing. So we know the people and the institutions that will give you money, that will loan you money if you are already established, if you have receivables, if you have financials, if you have your bank balances are what they need to be. We know what the underwriting requirements are for these institutions, and so we're able to place you with them for financing. And so, we're talking about $250,000, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million. That's all available.
So that would be not for. Is there entities out there for startups?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because banks just won't touch them at all. And my philosophy is, you just said it. If I'm starting a business and it's got, all the potential in the world, but if I don't have a significant amount of capital, I can't really get it moving. If California or the economy needs manufacturing companies, well, you got to have a lot of money to start a manufacturing company.
Yeah.
And you can't go to a bank, but that would change the economy, right? Because you can hire more people. But anytime you're going to hire people, you got to have some capital from somewhere.
Right.
Absolutely. People come to me all the time and they want to start a clothing line. They're just, oh, really? Do you know how much money it costs to start a clothing line?
Right.
Okay, so some of these businesses are very capital intensive. You want to start a restaurant, that's capital intensive. So you need to have money, and it's better for you if you don't use your own money. And that's why with our basic program, you could be incorporated this morning, and in 4.5 months, you're going to have about $75,000 in the credit line, and you're building that up over time. So 3, 4, 5 years from now, it might be worth $500,000. 10 years from there, it's $1.5 million.
So if a small business is listening out there right now and they want to tap into your service to find out about building corporate credit, what do they need to go do? Where do they need to go? Is there a phone number?
Very simple. They start off at our website, and our web address is very, very simple. It's THE, the word the, then CDNP.com.
The CDNP.com. That's the name of the website. The THE CDNP.com.
Let me write that.
That's a site you want to go to if you want to find out about corporate credit. And Mr. Francisco and we've been talking about teaming up, and also you'll be able to access that the CDNP.com website at my link, also at smallbusinesspro.net. So that's going to be a great partnership where we can share this wealth of information to a lot of small businesses in multi-dimensional areas.
Yeah, because that's a big issue. I mean, even Felicia is always asking that question. She's been in business for a number of years, and we have a lot of businesses that have been in business 2 to 3 years, and when they go out and they try to get funding, and then the banks are going to tell you, why aren't you using your own money? Bootstrap it first and then come to us. But there's just so much bootstrapping you can do. Use your own credit cards. I mean, when you research where to find money as a startup, that's the first thing they tell you. Use your pension funds if you have them, which is stupid. And
use your 401k. Go cash your 401k.
Take equity out of your home. And as we can see after the meltdown, that was a bad idea.
You know what's amazing also? They're telling us to do that, but they're not doing it themselves.
Right, exactly.
Because they're using our money
in order
to fund their ventures.
And so then when you go to send them, and then the banks, and I mean, we deal with Vermont Slauson and a number of business resource group, all of them. But the first thing they ask you, and I've been to capital raising seminars or access to capital, and when the people leave out, they're like, I don't know anything more than when I came in here. That was a waste of time. It's the same information the last one we had told me, and they come out and they look so depressed.
Yeah.
And well, your credit is your business credit is based upon your personal credit.
Yeah.
When you ask them how to establish business credit, like,
say we need to change that. That's what we need to do.
And I see that all the time.
So business credit is not based on personal credit. The only time personal credit is an issue is if you're trying to get a lot of money. And that will not become an issue if you're just starting out. So if this is your first opportunity to set up your corporate credit, your personal credit is not an issue. And if anybody tells you that, they're lying to you or they just don't know any better.
Okay.
Now, when an entrepreneur or small business is trying to get set up on the cdnp.com website in order to build their corporate credit, what are some of the things they need to have in order to get ready? Is there a checklist of items they need to have?
Absolutely. All the information you need about what we do and how we do it is at that website.
Okay. So there's a checklist there that entrepreneurs and small businesses can go to. And once you obtain that checklist, then you start gathering those items. And when you log in, then you can go through the process. How long is the process?
It's about 4.5 months. So here are a few things that you need. You're going to have a business address. It can't be your house. And a virtual office will do. You're going to have a phone number that listed in 411. And it's got to be a business phone. It can't be your cell phone because they're going to check.
Okay.
You have to, of course, be incorporated somewhere because they're going to check on that too.
Okay.
You need a website.
Okay.
You got to have a website. It can be just a basic website, but
so you basically have to have a carbon imprint out there in the airways, so people know that you're a real legitimate business.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, what if they're a sole proprietor? Can they be a part of this as well?
Absolutely. So if you're a sole proprietor and if you've been that way, believe me, as a business advisor, I run into a lot of people, including doctors, that have been operating in this town for 25 years as a sole proprietor. Now, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that is, man. A doctor?
Yes.
Oh, my God, all the liability.
Yeah, all the exposure.
Including OBGYN.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's out there.
I always tell my client when I have a class, I always tell them, if you're dealing with children, seniors, dogs,
And women.
women,
Or money.
food, make sure you have the right structure because they will destroy you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you've been operating unwisely as a sole proprietor, that's all right. But you're going to have to set up a corporation. We have to establish a corporation for you. And then if you've been in business 10, 15 years and you have real revenue, so now we're talking about getting you real money.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not talking about getting you $75,000 anymore.
Right.
Because this will be based on the fact that you have income and financials and so on, and a bank balance. They always, by the way, check. They have a way of checking your bank account. So that's part of the underwriting process.
Like when you buy a house, you got to have X amount of dollars in that bank account when they go to do the checking.
Yeah, they want to see. They want to see how much money is going through your account for the last.
Which is a good point you just brought up, and I want to throw this out there to let many small businesses know that, because they may have more than one bank account. They may have the business, they may have the personal, they may have something else. They want to select one of those accounts that whenever they generate revenues, the money goes directly into that account. Because what they're looking at, what they're measuring is, okay, let's see how much money is going into this account on a monthly basis. So even if you're taking out money out of the account, as long as you're putting it in, they want to see what's going in. Because they want to see your ability to bring in money.
Right. It's called bank qualification. They do look at that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's why with my bank account, my operating account, my income account, I make sure all of my checks go straight into that account. whether it's going to be taken out in 5 minutes or not. It goes into that account.
Well, yeah. When I set up a person's accounting, their books, we have a general account that all your money's cycled through. You can transfer it out to your savings account if you choose to. Yeah. But you need to make sure the bank is processing your business income. Yeah. So that we have that account. You have your savings account, and if you do payroll, I always suggest that they have a payroll account. So that is an in and out.
That would be your operating account.
So that's clean.
Yes.
And no commingling of the funds.
Yes, exactly.
And so it just makes sense to. So if you set up your corporation's credit and your business fails, well, that's okay. It doesn't affect you personally. It's not going to do any damage to your personal accounts, to your credit. Mm-hmm. Just the business just failed, as opposed to you financing it yourself and it fails.
Right, which is what happened during the meltdown. I mean, a lot of realtors, they had, I don't know what they were doing. It was all based upon their personal, because I had several friends that their FICO scores dropped. And why were we using your FICO scores in the first place? Why weren't you using?
They probably were commingling funds.
Yeah, because that doesn't make sense, right? It should not have affected. If everything had been out of their name and they'd been doing business and they had their business credit, that may have been affected, but their personal credit, until we got to them losing their homes, shouldn't have been affected, right?
Right. But by the way, when it comes to business credit, lots of banks, for example, if your corporation's credit is set up and you go to buy a car, lots of dealers will ask you for your SOCH, and they'll ask you to personally guarantee the purchase. Right. The reason they're doing that is because, like banks, if a bank tells you I'm going to hold on to your check for 5 days and you say that's okay, then they'll do it because they can get away with it.
But if you said no.
But if a dealer tells you that and you laugh at him, he's going to give you the car anyway, because this is based strictly on your company, not on you. So there's no reason for you to give him your Social Security number. Yeah. There's no reason for him to run your credit. Now, if he can get away with it, if you don't know any better, he's going to do it.
Right, exactly. I tell you, if you don't know, you don't know.
That's
and
right.
you make some really bad decisions
and
based
if you
upon
don't know,
not
sometimes
knowing.
it costs you.
It costs you a lot of money, whereas having someone to advise you, a consultant prior to that, will definitely save you so many more dollars than trying to skimp on that in the beginning. Yep. I think that if nothing else out of this, that's the conversation that people should be having.
Definitely.
Is it worth it in the beginning? Because what's going to happen on the back end, right?
Which is what happened to all these people that go to LegalZoom.
Well, yeah, probably, yeah. More like, well, even then, not just that, they don't even know why. They don't know what LegalZoom did, right? They just know that now I'm incorporated, but they don't understand the process. And that's one of the things, people look at us and they go, wow, you and Gilbert know everything. We read and we do research.
And we've stumbled along the way, so we learn from those
stumbles. You learn from the stuff, and then we share that with you. But again, if you don't know, then you need to reach out to consultants and coaches and people who do know, so that you can make the right decisions. Because having a business is not a cheap entity. You put a lot of time and energy and money into it, and you want it to be done the correct way. Right, and it should be done the correct way. I mean, there are nonprofits that have that problem. That's another conversation, but they could avoid some of the issues. First of all, just knowing that they don't own the nonprofit. That's probably the first thing that would be great for them.
Right. Now, with 3 minutes to go, what are some of the key takeaways that you'd like small businesses and entrepreneurs to know about this whole process we've been talking about? We talk about asset protection. We talk about building business credit. So what are some of the key takeaways?
The big thing is, look, there's in life there's no free lunches, okay? If someone is if someone's trying to sell you a Rolls Royce for the price of a Volkswagen, there's something wrong. Yeah. You're going to get what you pay for. So that's why if you go to LegalZoom, you want to pay nothing, that's what you're going to get. there's just no getting around it.
And even for what you're saying for the corporate credit, there are a number of entities out there. I've gotten quite a few phone calls because they want access to Recycling Black Dollars members to come out and talk about building their credit. And when I have that conversation with them, right off the bat, it's like, no, that can't work like that. I mean, but they're giving you the bill of goods, which is a network marketing a process anyway. And so when they start telling me, oh no, we can get you for $3,000, we can get you this. Okay, so what's the procedure? And then the procedure gets very fuzzy.
Yeah.
And then like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I tell you what, you can come to the meeting, you can talk to the people, but me referring you, no, that'll never happen.
So now here's another thing. For people who have been in business for, even if just a couple of years, and you have income, then we can set up your corporation's credit, and you can get more than this $75,000.
Okay.
So it's be based on what kind of money you've been making.
Okay.
So.
Let me ask you this question real quickly with 60 seconds to go. Paydex, what is that? Why do small businesses need to know about it? Should they maintain it? Why is it important?
Okay, so the Paydex score is what's issued by D&B, and it's a number from 1 to 100. You always want to be about 80 and above. Most people have an 80 and above, and your number is based on whether or not you're paying your vendors or people who extend credit to you on time. Each one of the credit reporting services have their own system. Experian has its own number. Equifax have their own number. But Paydex, of course, D&B being the 800-pound gorilla, everyone knows what a Paydex score is.
And it seems to move more rapidly than, say, your FICO score, because I've actually gone into companies where that number was way low because of whatever. Churches, and I've gone in, and then when they started, when we've made sure that the accounting system and programs have working and we got everything paid, then it just changes. Like within, you could actually make that change in 3 to 6 months.
Absolutely.
And you see it.
Absolutely.
And then your vendors see it, and they're very comfortable with that process, much faster than your personal credit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we've had a great show. It was excellent having you here, Mr. Francisco. And we've had Mr. Rubert Francisco from JE Holdings, LLC. He taught us a lot about LLC, C Corporation, and we're definitely going to take him up on that, Crystal.
I learned a lot as well. I mean, there's a lot of things. I'm like, did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that? Because, we've had the people. RBD has had so many people come in and speak at a meeting, and a lot of what you've said was never discussed in any meeting that I've been in. And so definitely informative. Thank you very much for being a guest on our show.
It's my pleasure.
And I'll make sure when we do the video clip, we want to give you a video, but we'll make sure that we're highlighting the, what is it,
CDNP. The CDNP.com.
Okay, I'll make sure that's in the description with the video, and we'll pump it out there and see what we can get some people some help, because finding funding for small businesses is crucial. And
listen, as a philosophy, here's with all my businesses, here's my philosophy. I don't try to sell people anything. What I want to do is I want to give you information. And if you find that it's beneficial for you, you'll take advantage of it. Not all things are for all people.
Right, exactly.
So I never try to sell. I think it's kind of an insult to try to sell people things. I don't try to sell anybody.
Exactly.
I'll give you information, and then you use it or not use it.
You make an intelligent decision if that's something you want to do. At some point, they'll be back to you anyway.
Thank you all for being our audience, our studio audience, and our public audience today on the Business Zone with
Crystal
and Gilbert Buchanan, the small business paramedic. We'll see you next week from 3 to 5 on the Business Zone, MorrisMediaLive.com. We're out.
And see you next week.
Larry is a general contractor. Larry is very good at his craft, but Larry has a very tough time managing his paperwork because he is busy taking care of his clients' needs. Larry just cannot find his important business documents when needed. Larry is also being passed over for bid opportunities from prime contractors because he is perceived as not ready. He doesn't know where his business license, certifications, insurance, and other key corporate documents are located most of the time. Lucy owns an auto body and collision repair shop and has been using a business management and procurement assistance program called